Hi everyone, welcome to Green Monk TV. We are at the Diversey Climate Change Summit in Amsterdam, and with me I have Curt Johnson. Curt is the chairman of Diversey. Curt, thanks a million for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Curt, can you tell me a little bit about the history of sustainability in Diversey? It's not exactly something you started working on last week.
Well, sustainability goes way back in our corporate history, and as you know, we were born out of the Curt Johnson company. I happen to be the fifth generation involved in the leading of one of those family enterprises, and sustainability's always been part of the culture, and we've been ahead of the curve, and we've been leaders in that area for a long time. It actually dates back to the 1930s when my grandfather took an expedition into the interior of Brazil in search of the carnauba palm. We were also on the forefront when the EPA banned chlorofluorocarbons from aerosol propellants, and this time my father had seen the science and the concern expressed by scientists that this chemical was producing holes in the ozone, and so he, before there was any legislation, banned this and eliminated this key propellant from all of our aerosol products before there was actually a need to do that. And we were an aerosol company back then, so it was a big deal. It cost us money, but he knew it was the right thing to do, and those kind of moves, I think, ingrained in the minds of our leadership and our people the importance of sustainability, and it's really become part of our culture. We now, as Diversey, are a separate business, but that family philosophy and those family values carry through to our business. And I think we heard it in the conference today, and we've proved it. I mean, if you can measure it, if you can measure the sustainability initiatives, both the costs and the benefits, I think in 9 out of 10 cases you will see that being sustainable actually produces ROI. I mean, there is ROI in there, and also, as we heard, I mean, I think there's a mindset and kind of a perception that sustainability costs money that is pervasive out there, and there's been actually some reports and studies done by MIT and BCG that kind of fuel this mentality. But if you crunch the numbers, if you have the right data, you find out that there's pretty good payback, very good payback.
So speaking of numbers, in your talk this afternoon, you talked about some pretty ambitious numbers that you guys have gone through in terms of your targets around CO2 and that. Can you talk a little about those? Yeah,
well, we plan a 25% reduction by 2013 over our 2003 baseline, and we got into this thing. This is actually a tripling of our commitment, because of once we again got in there and started evaluating the numbers that were coming out of these projects. I mean, we were getting excellent ROIs. In fact, our experience has been for every dollar invested, you get $2 back, and that is really based on the fact that is tough to get across, that the CO2 is a waste byproduct of our operating systems, and this whole idea of connecting CO2 with waste is a tough one to get across for some for some reason. But no matter what the operation, if you can reduce CO2 more than, it's inevitable that you will create a more efficient system that is more cost effective. And I think a lot of it is, again, this perception issue that you got to get across, and a lot of it is not having the data. I mean, you got to have the tools in place to collect the measurements and to actually, again, measure how you're doing from a cost standpoint, not just a CO2 reduction standpoint. And once you start seeing this stuff show up on paper, it kind of, again, it goes counter to the prevailing thinking. And so what I'm trying to do in today's conference, and what we as a company are trying to do with our customers and with our employees, is trying to get across this message that CO2 is waste. And so if you minimize CO2, you minimize waste, and you maximize efficiency, and you bring profit to the bottom line. But let me just talk about one more thing, which is not financial, which is more intangible, and that we see because we've kind of grown up with it. But if you're an employee at a company that is truly making the effort to be sustainable, and again, in our case, it's part of our history, there's a huge benefit from a morale standpoint, from a motivation standpoint, from an engagement standpoint of your people. And that's tough to measure. I mean, you can measure engagement, you can measure productivity, and I'd love to see some data on that. But our employees love to work for us because they know it's a company that cares about their environment, cares about their future generations, and that's huge in terms of motivation and in terms of engagement. It's something that didn't come out in the conference today, but it's a huge intangible outside of the dollar payback. And so I view this conference and this setting as kind of a initiator of that, and I'm hopeful that this will spread, and because again, it makes good business sense. So why wouldn't you do it as a business? And that's the word that we're trying to spread. And I think we, by ourselves, businesses can have a huge impact. And so I'm very pleased that we can kind of get the ball moving with this conference.
Cool. Great, Curt, that's been fantastic. Thanks a million for coming on the show.
Thank you.